Mr. Barry Hill, are we ready to go? Okay. Well, it's just a minute or two after 6 p.m. on Monday, July 8th. This is the July regular business session of the McDowell County Board of Education. Excuse me. We'll call the meeting to order now, and the first item of business would be to approve our agenda this evening. And you will note that it was revised from the original agenda that you received to include item 14, to include the superintendent contract. So is there a motion to approve this evening's agenda as revised?
So moved.
A motion by Ms. Silver and a second by Mr. Shuford. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor to approve, and the motion carries. Ms. Mumaw, are you with us? Not yet. Okay. So that would be 8. Oh. Ms. Mumaw?
Yes.
Okay. Are you in favor
Okay.
of approving this evening's agenda?
I so am.
Okay, so that would make it 9-0, unanimous. It's customary at this time, and appropriate, I believe, that we take just a moment or two of our time today to sit together in silence and prepare ourselves for the evening's work, and to thank our Creator for the abilities that He's given us to carry out that work. So may we do that at this time? Certainly there are many in our community and in our circles that are deserving of our prayers and thoughts this day. So I thank you for your attention to that. Next item, number 4, is pledge to the flag this evening, and I'm going to ask our officer at the back of the room, sir, would you care to lead us in our pledge today?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is that DJ? That I should have recognized you from North Cove. Thank you for being here this evening. Okay, item 5 are superintendent remarks, and I'll turn the floor over to Dr. Grin.
All right. Well, folks, I appreciate everybody being here tonight. It's good to be with you. July is a special time. I think, we're finishing up a school year, and really July marks the beginning of a new school year. So in that, I've got a few things from you that are carryover from last year and a few things moving forward that I'm going to share with you tonight. But first, I want to thank the board for taking the time this afternoon to do a tour up at the Summit Academy. And I know everybody couldn't make it, and that's okay. If at some point you would like to go by there, Mr. Oliver and I, we've got a code so we can get in. We'll be happy to take you up there anytime. But just wanted to put that out there and let you know we're happy to do that. So the 2024-2025 school year is officially underway. We closed our finances and have started the new year. We're excited about what's to come. The first news from 24-25 school year continues our winning ways from last year. 4 students from FCS placed in the top 10 in the nation in the FBLA conference. We're really excited about that. The competition wrapped up on July 2nd. I was a little too late to have them here for this board meeting, but we're hoping to have them in August if we can get them all committed. If not, we'll have them here in September for sure. We also ended our school year last year with 4 of our girls softball team members that were recognized as all-state players. So we were excited about that. There was a nice little article in the paper on that. Our projects are underway. I mentioned the one at the Summit Academy. There's a lot of work going on at McDowell High School. I know Mr. Oliver's got quite a few things to share with you today. It's really, really coming along. And just a reminder, we will do a board walkthrough there just before the next board meeting for those of you guys who can make it, and we'll treat it the same. And if you can't, we're glad to do it another time. This Thursday, Eastfield Global Magnet School will be in session. So it'll be our first school ready to go off, and kicking the school off with those kids coming back to school. We also had a team last week to travel to D.C. to study ways schools can be proactive and improve absenteeism rates. We have some great work to share with the board, and we look forward to sharing and developing strategies at our July 31st board work session. Last week, while I was at the superintendent's conference, we were awarded $1,000 for participating in the teacher working conditions survey, so that was kind of fun. I'd never actually had a chance to hold one of the big checks, but they did give us a big check. They wouldn't let me take it home. I asked, but I guess that's just a show. But it was good, and really that goes to show the commitment of our administrators as well as our representatives at each of those schools. Really, the administrator just encourages folks to do it, but those representatives at the schools are the ones who actually say, hey, folks, we need to get this done. So it's critical that we do those. We get good data from those, and it was great to be recognized as a district. You had to reach a certain percentage in order to be qualified for that, and we did. And it's always great when you win something, too. So other things that are going on, Operation Backpack is off and running again, and we'll be accepting donations. The summer feeding program is running to serve our kids in camp this summer. We have the Read to Achieve camp going on. That's pretty much all July at the elementary schools. Our summer bridge will be happening at East and West Middle and at the high school. And we're grateful for those federal dollars to be able to help with those programs. We're also grateful tonight for our county commissioners and their commitment to helping us grow. Just before the end of the month, the commissioners passed the budget, agreeing to provide the school system with an additional, it's nearly a 3% increase, which will go a long way towards supporting our students and staff, and we're grateful for that. County Manager Wooten, Chairman Walker, Vice Chairman Brown, and members Ellis, Green, and Allison, and we thank you for your commitment to our students and for our staff. On the state level, we're grateful for the work that's going on in Raleigh. You guys may not know this, but there was Senate Bill 332 was signed just before the legislators left for the July 4th holiday. That bill is actually laying on the governor's desk, and Senate Bill 332 is the one that would enact the raises for our staff. So we were excited to see that, and honestly, that's one of those that they didn't take off the fact that they're going to come back and continue to meet, so there's opportunity that they could add more to that. I don't know what that'll look like, but it allows us to move forward with what we were supposed to in July, and we're excited about that. Also, we're excited to report that we did see an increase, and this is a big deal, folks. We did see an increase in the low wealth formulas, and we're greatly appreciative for the support there. And that again is a state level increase for McDowell County that we did not anticipate. So seeing that, we saw it there at the beginnings of June, and we've been kind of sitting on it, waiting to see what would happen with it. But hearing them recess for the session, and all the information that we've gotten back so far is showing that would be allocated for us next year. So that is a huge help. And if you have a chance to speak with our legislators about that, they need to leave that one alone. So when you get a good one, you want to leave it alone. We also want to continue to ask them to fund McDowell County at that level. That's a massive help for our local government. So it's just one of those that I can't advocate strongly enough for, but I do want to let the board know that is the expectation there. We're super excited about it. And that's all I had for tonight.
Dr. Griffin, you talking about the funding and economics and all of that. You know, a month or so ago, maybe a little longer, discussions between finance and personnel and administration, we talked a little bit about putting a freeze on hiring. Has any of this been able to alleviate
Yes,
that?
yes, sir. And I'm really glad you asked me that. I neglected to bring that up. We have lifted the hiring freeze at the beginning of the month, and really should have mentioned that. So I appreciate you asking.
All right.
Yes,
But now, just to be clear, these are state funds.
These are state allocated
And
funds.
some of those federal positions that were part of the COVID response money.
The ESSER funds, yes, sir.
Right. We may not be able to replace all of those with these
Yes, sir.
low wealth funds.
That's right. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to clarify.
Good questions. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we have a special guest joining us this evening. And item 6 on our agenda, we want to officially welcome and recognize our 2024-2025 Teacher Representative, Teacher of the Year, Mr. Joy Hill from McDowell High School. All right. Now, Mr. Hill, he's quite a character and got quite a resume. There's nearly a page full there, but I'm just going to let you tell it in your own words. How about that?
Do I? My motto is, I may have been born just plain white trash, but fancy was my name. You okay with that one? All right.
You're getting close to the line there,
Well,
pal.
I won't sing the rest of the song. All right. That was the joke and the song. Right? Okay. I'm very, very happy to be back in McDowell County after being away for quite a long time. I graduated from McDowell High School in 1988 with Brother Spivey over there, and he and I were bandmates. I would say that we carried the band on our shoulders. What do you think?
I would think you did.
I think that's nonsense. Anyway, I graduated in 1988, attended UNC Chapel Hill, where I was in North Carolina teaching fellow. From there, I taught at North Mech in Huntersville for 5 years, and then decided it was time to go to see some other part of the world and to enjoy much cooler summers, which I miss a great deal right now in San Francisco, where I lived and taught for 20 years. And then I returned here in 2019, just in time to miss COVID, which was it was a very serendipitous sort of event. And I started teaching at the high school in 2021, I believe. This is going to be my 4th year at the high school, where I teach senior English. I've also taught French, and hope one day to be able to teach French again. Encore, as they say. And I'm this is a tremendous honor, and I'm very, very excited to represent all of the educators in the county to the board and to those who care so much about our schools that they attend these board meetings. So thank you all for making me feel warm and give me this very warm welcome as I return to the county and receive apparently a bag. Is that mine? Oh.
There's one of those spring-loaded snakes in
Awesome.
there, you know, that
Yes.
jumps out
Right,
at
right,
you.
right.
Well, Mr. Hill, the board has a very nice gift for you.
It's not going to hurt.
Well, I don't think so. You know, all the rest of us, we have our names so people know
Oh.
who to point at, and we didn't want you to feel
Well,
left
thank
out.
you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. It's a little upgrade from my many years working at Harris Teeter. This won't fit on my shirt.
All right.
Out of charge now.
Okay. It's going to be an interesting year. Mr. Hill, thank you for being with us, and thank you for what you do for our students. Item 7 is correspondence, and Ms. Smith, does the board have any correspondence? No correspondence. Item 8 then is requests to address the board in public comment. Are there any requests to address the board this evening? Okay, so we will move on to item 9, unfinished business. And we do need to take some action on some policy revisions, and Ms. Dowdle is going to lead that for us. And I think in your packet there may be some copies of the policy, but maybe not.
There was.
It was included in your electronic packet, let me say it that way. Right.
We've seen it. It was given to us before the last board meeting.
Yes.
We've seen it.
Mhm.
Yeah. You also attached them, didn't you, when you sent the agenda? Mhm.
Good evening, Mr. English, Ms.
Yes,
Pupo,
ma'am.
Dr. Gritt, members of the board. I stand before you tonight with the final read of our last policy revisions. I wanted to see if there were any questions or concerns as we move forward this evening with any of our policies.
Ms. Dowdle, just for the public's information, could you remind the board and the public of those specific policies that we will be or may be revising this evening?
Absolutely, yes, sir. So, our first policy is our parental involvement policy. That's 1310 and 4002. This one has been updated numerous times throughout the year, as that is one of our was affected with the Parents' Bill of Rights. And so each revision throughout this school year, that has been one that has been revised. If you look at your form, those are the different revisions that are listed on there. I did kind of a Reader's Digest version. We have 1760 and 7280, prohibition against retaliation. 2127, board member technology use. 3220, technology in the education program. 3225 /4312 /7320, which is technology responsible use. We have 3420, student promotion and accountability. 3460, graduation requirements. 3620, extracurricular activities and student organizations. 4040 /7310, student staff relations, or staff-student relations, excuse me. 4240 /7312, child abuse and related threats to child safety. 4270 /6145, concussion and head injury. 6125, administering medicines to students. 7130, licensure. 8340, insurance. 8510, school finance officer. And then 5071 /7351, electronically stored information retention. The policies, the next policies are optional policies that our system chose to adopt. They have been presented to the policy committee, and through the policy committee has asked to make these policies. 4140, which is a foreign exchange students policy. 5023 /6128 /7268, emergency administration of I say it wrong every time, Ms. Helms. Not naloxone, thank you. And 7435, which is a dual employment as bus driver policy. So through each of these policies that we talked earlier, most all of these are revisions based on current applicable law and general statutes.
Okay. Any comments or discussion, questions, clarification the board needs before taking action?
I just have a comment about policy 5023, 6128, 7268, the emergency administration of naloxone.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thanks for
You're
clarifying how to
welcome.
pronounce that. What I would like to request of the superintendent and the administration is that we include our school nurses in the formation of the procedures once this policy is put into place, because those, I feel, are the people that are going to be most likely in charge of having, making
Administrative.
sure that the rest of the people in the schools are trained. And I'd love for them to have a seat at that table.
Absolutely. I think that's a great recommendation as far as moving forward with putting the procedure together. And it would require those folks to be able to help us with that. And to be honest with you, I'm hoping that agencies that they work with will be working with some procedural pieces in regard to that policy as
Right.
well. As you know, putting the policy in place is step one,
Yes.
and then getting the procedure behind it will be the next phase of it. So it may not be that we start the school year there with that in our schools. The goal would be to get it implemented fairly quickly, but we do want to have some procedure behind that.
Absolutely. This would be very similar to the EpiPens that are currently within our building. There are definitely procedures that we follow as far as administering that and the procedures that go into place.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, discussions? If not, then, is there a motion to approve the final reading of the policy revisions as presented?
I'll make a motion that we approve the policy, the spring policies as is presented today.
Okay. All right. Ms. Pupo makes the motion and Mr. Shuford makes the second. Is there any further discussion? Anyone else need any further information? All right. If not, then, all in favor of approval, and the motion carries unanimously.
Aye.
Ms. Mumal?
Aye.
Okay, I thought it was
Thank you all.
Listen.
So, the policy revisions pass unanimously. Next is, under unfinished business, is facilities update, and Mr. Oliver's going to tell us and the community all the things we're trying to rush around and get done before school starts.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board, Dr. Gritt, school leaders, honored guests. It's always a pleasure to talk to you about what's going on with our facilities upgrades in the county. As you know, we have 3 major projects that are going on right now, and one project that we're almost completed with our locker rooms. But our major upgrades that are taking place this summer are the kitchen upgrade and the HVAC upgrade at McDowell High School. Those are both huge projects funded with ESSER funds, and those will be monumental upgrades to the high school that can be used not only by McDowell High, but anyone in the county who uses those facilities on a regular basis. As you know, the common areas, which includes the cafeteria, that gets used a lot. A lot of different folks use that, both inside the school system and not school district folks. The locker rooms upgrade at the high school we're almost complete with that work. We still have a few lockers to install, so that one is going to be closing up really soon. The only photos I have for you tonight are from the high school, and you can see this is in the kitchen with the new tile work that's being done. You saw photos last week. I think you got those on Wednesday before the 4th holiday. And so these are newer photos. These are from today, and you can see how much progress they've made just since last Wednesday on the tile flooring and the lighting, because the kitchen lighting is complete now as well. So a lot of progress there on the tile work in the cafeteria and kitchen area at McDowell High. It's really going to look great. It's exciting. The target date for that is 20 August. The target date for the HVAC, at least for the gym part, is 20 July. Once the gym part is complete for the HVAC, then they'll move to the classrooms in the CTE labs. And I know Ms. Finley is happy about that. And so are our outstanding CTE teachers, who should have AC, as well as all the students that will be receiving instruction in those classrooms. So we're looking forward to that being accomplished as well. Many of you had the opportunity to walk up to the Summit Academy this afternoon and see the work that's ongoing there. and that's going to be a great facility for us. I think we're on schedule with everything that has to be done. It looks tremendously different than it did a month ago, and I would say that's going to be true every week from now until it's time to welcome students and staff in August. So,
Mr. Oliver, can we go back, or Garrett, can we go back to that last picture that you had up of the tile? So, folks, if you remember the picture that I sent to you last Wednesday, none of that was down in that area. That was completely.
now they were just doing the subfloor area for the tile last week in the kitchen.
And you know, tile's certainly a lot harder than the LVT, so that could kind of give you, for those of you who went up to the Summit Academy today, it kind of give you a perspective of how quickly they can get the floors in, and we're getting really close to that point at the Summit Academy too.
Absolutely. No, it's moving along well. Our folks are doing a great job, and also all the contractors and subcontractors on the major projects are doing a great job as well. We're very, very pleased with their work.
That's big progress.
It is.
In a
It
week's
is,
time.
especially over the holiday.
Yeah.
Do we have an anticipated date of when the locker rooms will be finished? 'Cause I was up there the other day. I stopped by to see Miss Bennett, and kitchen looks amazing. And the lighting in the kitchen almost looks like half of the McDowell Star.
It is.
Okay.
It
That's
is.
what's getting ready to be.
Oh, that's
And
going
the-
to be
It
exciting.
matches on
The
the
star
floor
will
as
have
well.
lights.
Okay,
on
that's
it.
really cool. So that's really neat. But the locker rooms, they're
Well, it depends
Still
on
a little-
which part of the locker room you're referring to. The locker rooms themselves, the only thing that's not completed in the locker rooms is the new lockers. The room in the corner still has there's a lot of work to do in there, but that's not going to be a locker room. That's going to be repurposed. The old weight room.
okay.
So as far as the target date, when we're ready for school to start, we want that room to be ready for students to be in
But the
there.
room that has showers in it is a locker room.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
And some of those showers, there are some showers that are going to remain open. Some of those are going to be closed off for storage.
Okay.
And that was a choice of
So-
the coaches.
So hopefully before school starts.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Any other questions?
Anyone else have questions for Mr. Oliver about the updates?
And I didn't include this, but there's lots of HVAC parts replacement and unit replacement going on, and that will continue to be ongoing. So
That is a good thing.
it is. Yes, sir.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. We'll move along then to new business, item 10. And first on our docket this evening is Ms. Mary Finley, our CTE director, going to talk to us a little bit about the career development planning.
Well, good afternoon, or good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Gritt and Ms. Hamby asked me to share information about the new law for career development for all students with you. And before I give the overview, I would like to say career development plans, or as we refer to them, as one of our many acronyms of CDPs, this is not new for McDowell County school students. We have been doing this for a long time in CTE, and the counselors have been as well. It's just been more on paper and pencil than actually in electronic format. So the first part of the new law is North Carolina General Statute 115C, which has two parts. So the first part states that the state board shall develop standards for an elective middle school course in which students investigate and learn about career pathways. These standards shall align with the requirements for career development plans and include a focus on experiential learning and hands-on learning. So we already have all this in our middle schools. Our CTE middle school classes meet these requirements, and they also align to the pathways that we offer at McDowell High School. And so none of that, we're already good on this area. However, this year we have using Paxton Patterson as a vendor. in their labs, and I'm going to show a video on that. But all 3 middle schools will have these modules and the Summit Academy. So I'll show you a video, and then we'll talk about it. You click on that Paxton Patterson lab link. Go back.
It's a hot link on.
It's, yes, right there. Sorry. And then just.
My name is Morgan Shea, and I'm the Technology and CTE teacher at Mountain View Middle School. We'll all be able to go in today, and I know there are a few of you who have not chosen one yet, and if that is you, then I will get you into a lab. In our lab, we have 20 different modules that students have an opportunity to choose. And so they work through these doing experiments and just learning specific skills that then give them an opportunity to see what kind of careers are options for them in the future.
Right now we're in the future labs and we're working on culinary arts.
We're working on reassembling this engine.
We're working on laser technology and what different lenses do to light.
I love coming down to the future lab because we always had something new to do and it was pretty fun.
So I had technology last semester. It was never a day that I was bored. It was always something new and so much fun. And you work in teams, so I would always have a friend with me, so it was so much fun. I always enjoyed coming to this class. I was like, oh my God, yes, I have technology.
I would say engagement is something I don't typically have to worry about. So you have student choice in the beginning, and so they're choosing what they get to learn. You never get the question of why do I have to do this? The whole nature of this class is to show them this is exactly what you are going to be using when you have a job. It's a completely different class than any others they've been in. This is a direct connection to what they would do, maybe for the rest of their lives.
Whenever I would do one module, I want to be that in the future. For example, when I went into forensic science, I wanted to be an investigator. When I did video making, I wanted to be an editor. Like, whenever I do something, I just want to be it in the moment. Like, it's so much fun. It makes me want to be that when I'll grow up.
The great thing about the Future Labs, it's not happening just here at Mountain View. It's happening in every single middle school in our district.
So we have ordered 9 of these modules. We will have design and marketing, culinary, childcare, welding, health science, energy and power, home maintenance fundamentals, personal finance, and intro to computer science. So we're excited about having these modules. We'll start the school year with them, and then as time and money permits, then we will continue to add modules. There's lots to choose from, so we're very excited about that for our middle school. So the next part of the law states that for the career development plan, all middle school and high school students shall complete a career development plan that meets the following requirements. A student shall not be promoted from the 8th grade until a career development plan is created, and they shall not be promoted from the 10th grade until the CDP is revised to ensure alignment with their post-secondary plan of choice, whether it be employment, enlistment, or college enrollment. These plans must be easily accessible to students and parents. They must provide parents written notice of the initial creation of the CDP and information on how to access the plan, and local boards of education shall provide access to all CDPs through a designated electronic platform. So in McDowell County, we already use Major Clarity. This is paid for with CTE funds, and all middle school and high school teachers, counselors, principals, everyone involved has access to this. And just recently, nccareers.org just came out with a free platform that is available if counties do not already have something electronic. And with Infinite Campus coming, you know, who knows what that's going to look like, but we're good in this area. My career development coordinators have been using this since 2021 along with counselors, other counselors. So if you look at the statistics I pulled from Major Clarity, you can kind of see how the learning style inventories, the percentage that is complete for each school. And this is, and this just takes time to get in those classrooms and do this.
Ms. Finley, can I ask you to explain a little bit about what are some of the data points that Major Clarity is capturing for our students? What What is it telling our students?
Well, the learning style reports, it kind of shows what kind of careers that they might have an interest in based on how they answer the assessments, what colleges are available based on their career choices. And it also, and I'll show an example in just a second, but it just shows where they can see everything that's been taken and what they still lack and still need.
If I remember, I had the privilege of reviewing this program at one point over the last couple months. One of the other pieces that it does is I believe it does somewhat of a personality assessment as well. So not only is it looking at student interests, which could be very limited, right, because of exposure, but then it takes into consideration their personality and is making recommendations based on that personality in association with that Myers-Briggs temperament inventory. Thank you.
You are
yeah,
correct.
that's got about 90 years of research behind it, matching personalities to careers.
Yeah,
So this is a good platform, in my personal opinion.
No, thank you. So on the next slide, you can see what the law says that these CDPs must include. So 1, a self-assessment of the student's aptitude, skills, values, personality, and career interest. And then exploration and identification of career pathway aligned with the student's self-assessment that includes information or identification on needed education, training, and certifications, information on the most cost-efficient path to entry, and opportunities within the school setting to explore and prepare for a career. And then there's 2 more. Number 3 says there has to be an alignment of academic courses and extracurricular activities with students identified with their career interest. This inventory of aligned courses in middle school and high school, grades 6 through 10, and strategies for course selections in grades 11 through 12 to achieve their identified career interests. And then also courses that may lead to college credit. And then available record of any AP, IB, or Cambridge and dual enrollment courses they take, extracurricular activities, and awards and recognitions. And then the last is a creation of a career portfolio, which would document their post-secondary plans, completion of FAFSA with a parental consent, a resume, and then the occupational outlook for identified career interest. So it is going to be a lot of work, but there's so many advantages to these students having this. We're hoping that student opportunities will increase for us in CTE, apprenticeships, internships, clubs, participation, and then having these career goals will just help students select a better post-secondary education option. And then there's other options as far as coordinating, mentoring, or buddy programs that are based on the student's career interest. And then it's a little hard to see, but this is an example of a career plan from Major Clarity. I don't know if you can make it any larger. But so you can see, sorry, the student names, but this shows, like this student has taken the ACT and the SAT, so all those scores are on there. You can see that they have been a member of DECA, Student Council, and FBLA. They have not earned any industry credentials yet, but if they had, all of this would be on this page. And then you can see their personality assessment status and their top 3 personality traits, and then their selected pathway, and then what their career goals are as far as right now. And then on the next slide,
Can we go back one slide?
yes,
I also see on there our ACT scores and our SAT scores. If students were to take those, ACT of course is mandatory, as well as the ASVAB scores, which would let them know where they stand as far as the military as well. So I mean, to me, that's a comprehensive document that captures it all in one place. It's a good platform for a student
and all of this imports in from Power School.
That's right.
So.
Hey, good job, Garrett. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I did remember wearing my glasses, so it still didn't help.
I would have thought Miss Wall scored higher than a 19 on ACT.
Yeah, I'll tell her that.
That was before they added the extra component.
And then on the second page, then here's where you can see, it even tells what the student has taken in the 7th grade, which is 0 credits as far as a high school transcript is concerned, but this student also had Math 1 in the 8th grade, which counts as a high school credit. You can see that listed. And then the courses they've taken in 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. One thing that Ms. Wall is working on with Major Clarity is making sure all the electives are in there based on the pathways. Because a student necessarily can graduate and not be a CT completer. They can be a band completer, a math completer, and other things like that. And then the last page of the career plan. Oh, you're fine. It just shows, and then that last page will show what colleges are available that they may have an interest in and what they've chosen. Like this student would or AV Tech, University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and University of North Carolina at Wilmington. And so that's what that looks like. And again, this is just not a CTE initiative. It's for all students, all 8th graders, all 10th graders. And it's going to take everyone working together. And I know at the learning team meetings, that's on our agenda to have a plan in place for the start of the new school year where students will start with this. So, any questions? It's just another, great thing for students to have, and so another tool in their tool belt.
If I would just ask that we, as you guys discuss how you're going to implement this and communicate this across the board to students, that you consider very strongly how you communicate this to parents as well. I don't think as parents we know that this is really available for our students. This is a huge tool. I mean, in all the career services works that I have done, this is a fantastic tool that our school system has for our students, and making parents aware of the fact that this is available for their students to go through is going to be really critical, I think, in supporting parents, supporting their kids, and making that determination about whether they should attempt to go into the workforce right away, should they go to the tech college and get a couple certifications, or go off to college, or I mean, this is a major clarity. It's a major resource that we're investing in that has tremendous potential and opportunity for our students. And I personally think that parents need to know that this is available so that they can really support their student as they're moving through this process and knowing what's next upon graduation.
Yes, so. And that is on our list as we notify. And then the email addresses, parents' email will be come through Power School as well. And so we'll send directions on how to access it.
Yeah, even like a video, even creating like a little video and posting it on Facebook or something, on the school pages that talk about all the, great things that this does for kids and things would just be, I don't know, if we could overkill this one as far as communication is concerned, I don't think that you would even reach, enough of communication with parents on this one and the value it brings.
Can I ask two real quick questions? If you remember, and the logistics of this is daunting, of dealing with this many young people and trying to keep up with it. It's really very impressive. And I don't want to make it even more complicated, but the numbers of children that graduate from high school and that aren't working and that aren't in school, and I was going to say that before
We've had this
said
discussion
it's the most surprising workforce number I've ever. It's like a couple of thousand children, whatever, of that age that are doing neither. And so between the high school, you cut off at the 12th grade, and then they're off. Mm-hmm. And I know following up and monitoring would be extremely complicated, but again, is there a way for the college and the school system to kind of keep up with the person after they graduate? Well, that's worth thinking through.
And that has been a topic of discussion. I know Ms. Hemby and I have had that discussion. And as far as CT is concerned, we are required to do a questionnaire survey 1 year after graduation of all of our completers.
Okay.
And so we have that data each year, but that's only for CTE completers.
And then second, real quick, and again, adding to the complexity of it, but the parental involvement that you've got is an opportunity for them to become involved, and then an opportunity to go online and review.
Yes.
Does it make things impossible if there was a required sign-off?
I don't think so. I think that
something that sort of mandated a parent to at least take a look at it?
I definitely feel like we need some procedures around that piece, and that's something that's from a learning team we can look at. But to your point, I wanna back up just a minute.
Sure.
I do feel like it's critical that we're graduating our students, and you know, being a graduation rate even in the 84 percentile is not enough. My gut tells me that so many of those students that aren't working were some of the ones that we didn't help across the finish line. So I think we've got, you know, a huge task, and I know it's part of our strategic plan to see more graduates. 95% is not an unobtainable number, and I think we need to be there. So we're going to continue to push that. But I like what you're saying as far as a way to track and monitor beyond that, and knowing that CTE does that, finding a way that we can bridge that through some other areas as well with the community college there. But you know, I think we're talking about a combination, because some of the students that would fall into that 1824, I guarantee you they have graduates. They're not all high school students that have dropped out, but I do know that we've got to improve in that area. And get ahead of where the state is.
Don't be too hard on yourself, because the family clearly, but communicating with the family during that age may be something that we can do, but you can't really take responsibility for all of that. But it's really concerning that percentage of our population is neither in service, they're not working, and they're not in school. And that's not the fault of the school system. But I'm just wondering if there's a way to maybe facilitate that.
I was wondering, and on the same lines, I was wondering, because I'm looking at some of the kids, and I know a lot of them, you know, growing up here, and their families. I was wondering if there was a mentor program like Mr. Frank used to do with those kids. If they're falling below a certain, you know, grade point average, or they're struggling, or this or that, a lot of times it's because of their family life. So I thought it would be neat for us to come up with a mentor program that says, hey, if you fall below this, whether it be CTE or anywhere, we're going to require you to go to a mentor program. And not just have mentors that are teachers in the school, but people from the community that might make a difference. You know, like Mr. Frank did with Zeb Kuhn and some of the others that he was with. Still doing it. So maybe make that grow somehow and sponsor. I'd love to be a part of it. You know,
Sure.
So all of us probably would like to do that. But I think that would help us pick up some of that slack from home.
Well, and I think that's a good point too, and you know, going back to what Mr. Abernathy was saying, you really, this is not just a school system; it's a community, and I think that you're spot on. It's going to take community and our faith-based organizations. It's going to take all of us in that. So looking at ways to make those connections is important. Thank you.
Might I interject?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Just a quick point about this. I will say that we have at the high school, and I can only speak at any length about the high school, we have the relationships with the students that encourage them, that make them know that they're welcome to come back to us for help if they are having trouble finding employment, or if their college or career path changes. And I have sit and watched Pat Rose work frequently and extensively with students who graduated, you know, a year or two in the past. And so I think the foundation is there if you were interested in working to build on that and to extend the the way and the detail with which we keep in touch with our students to make sure that we are giving them what they need as they walk across the stage.
Good point.
Ms. Finley, are we still incorporating the drone technology, teaching them? Do you know?
We are not offering drones this year due to low enrollment,
Okay.
but we will bring it back.
Okay. I was just asking because I got a nice phone call today telling me that my $3,000 drone that I use for my business was banned.
Yeah, we had that same problem.
DJI banned.
Yes, that's exactly what happened to
I
us.
wasn't happy with the people on the phone, but I did get a refund by the time I was done. So if you have any DJI,
No, Garrett has mine now. But they're updating the curriculum, and things, so it will make a comeback, but just not
Excellent.
in this
Thank you.
coming school year. And I'll say one more thing about Major Clarity. It gives all the data, like how many times students log in. We can see parent logins and all that, so we will be able to track and see who's looking at it. So, all right, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
We'll move along then to board reports, and first up, Budget and Finance Committee, Mr. Franklin.
But we're on
Anything?
hold, aren't we, Suzanne, until the final budget comes forth, and it's forthcoming shortly, hopefully. But I do have a question, being NJROTC representative. There was a recent drowning at Camp Buddy Shield from an ROTC student that was going through a boot camp over there. Has this affected our future boot camp?
That's not been brought to my attention as far as what's.
Well, the only reason I know about it is because the Lakewood
Sure.
dive team found the body.
Oh, wow.
and retrieved the body, and it was a accident that shouldn't have happened.
Sure.
But I just wondered how it's affected us because we have that boot camp there as well.
Yes, sir. I'll do some checking on that and follow up with the board and make sure I get that out to you by the end of the week.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
All right. Next up, Mr. Suttles, Building and Grounds, anything
I have nothing.
else to report?
Mr. Oliver covered it pretty well, and I would like to maybe get us together in August after I speak to Dr. Grit and talk about things to follow up from the last meeting.
Sure, and I think we'll have a good opportunity to be able to have some of those conversations at the board work, no, not the work session, the board retreat that's coming up as well.
Maybe get an update from the NC State study and all that stuff.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ms. Silver, curriculum and instruction?
Now, I know that at the elementary schools, the materials are there. And the middle school. And principals are getting those categoried, and looking forward to the staff coming back and getting them, and just excited to have a math curriculum in place.
All right. Would you care to continue on then with Head Start?
Today, I have nothing to report from Head Start because
Okay.
their meeting is next Monday.
All right.
Policy meeting, so.
Okay. We'll look forward to it next month. And then on policy, Ms. Popeau?
I have nothing to add today.
Nothing to add today. Well, how about that?
Could I say one thing?
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Chairman?
You sure may.
I want to brag on today's the first day of our summer school
Yes,
program. And I am impressed that some of the teachers just think it's great. And the opportunity for the extra money is even more incentive to do it. It's very good money. But I've noticed where some of these people are just taking it real personal and are excited about it. And it's not like it's a burden or a chore to them. They're really looking forward to it. And I just want to brag on it.
That's nice. It's good to hear that. Thank you.
All right. We'll move along to item number 11 then, the consent agenda. And as you know, any item that is on that agenda can be removed and voted on by separate ballot, should anyone desire. So is there anything that we need to consider separately? And if there is not, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as it is presented this evening?
I'll make that motion. We approve it as presented.
Mr. Suttles makes the motion to approve. Is there, Ms. Pupo makes the second, thank you. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Ms. Pupo, are you in favor of approving the, I'm sorry, excuse me, Ms. Mumal, are you in favor of approving the consent agenda?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. So the motion carries. All right. Next item, item 12, Mr. Abernathy asked that we introduce this subject on our policy of use of mobile phones in schools, and this is going to be quite a topic of discussion and thoughtful discussion at our retreat. But just to introduce it and to let the community know that this is something that is concerning not only to our staff but to the board as well and the administration. So did everyone get one of these? Everyone got a copy of our current policy to peruse between now and the 31st, but just as a way of introducing it, there is a lot of action on policies limiting or basically denying the use of cell phones in public schools. And of course they vary from school to school and district to district and state to state. And so knowing that this is coming on and it's an issue that our teachers are grappling with, Mr. Abernathy asked that we include this for some discussion this evening to kind of get a feel for what the board might desire, what further information the board might desire to have gathered when we meet at our board retreat and discuss it more in depth then. So, Mr. Abernathy, if you want to begin.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for putting this item on the agenda. So there's no real preconceived conclusion that I come to you with, nor should I. That it's really just the start of a discussion. So discipline in the high school and in the middle school, and maybe beyond that even, is a topic that comes before us. If it's a reality or a perception or a combination of both, it's there. And we've bumped up against some solutions that I think are going to see us improve that situation. Cell phones probably are part of the issue that we need to discuss and be aware of. I've got no science behind what are anecdotes and perceptions on my part. I have spent maybe an hour and a half online, and to my surprise, it's really quite an issue all over the country and in the state of North Carolina. So the timing of it may be pretty good. There's no question cell phones are a distraction. Cell phones create a disruption. Cell phones can be used for criminal activity. They can be used to bully. They can really do some negative things. They're a positive tool. One of the things that I read is that the group of people that will be most concerned about a change in cell phone policy or making things more restrictive will be parents. And that's something that you're going to have to really work into this and listen to. Parents coordinate transportation. They want instant communication if there is an emergency. Very serious issue. And so you don't want to take light of it, and how you set this up for discussion, if you set it up for discussion, is important. So should we consider policy changes or even technology changes? If you go to an extreme on this, there's technology that enables or disables cell phones on a particular campus, and you've got passwords for instructors that give them access and very, very tricky thing. But I think it's worth discussion. And so to just conclude, again, I'm going to be real brief, but I did have a high school teacher say to me, whatever you do, don't do this and then come to us and tell us what you did, involve us in it, so that we're not surprised. Parents need some ability to be involved in it, and some of the articles suggested that you even involve students, which I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to either. So that's it. I appreciate putting the topic out there, and that way people know it's being considered. And I appreciate you placing it on the agenda.
Well, I think people will find when you step back and hold it at arm's length, it's really a much more complicated puzzle to solve than what we might initially think. So I'm wondering if there are any suggestions for the administration to look into. I would personally like to know how other districts in our general region of the state are, what sorts of policies or procedures they have in place and how they're working, and are they considering more restrictive or changes and stuff like that. And I'm sure there's other folks that might have an idea too.
As broad as our policy is on the use of electronic devices, there are still some good things in that policy. My question is, do we enforce what we have? Are we willing to enforce those policies? Because there are several restrictions, just as you brought up, Mr. Abernathy, and they are a distraction. But I'll tell you what, I think if the teachers know that the board's going to back them, and or back the administration, we've got some pretty solid policies that restrict the use of those cell phones, and I think we just get so complacent and let students just do as they darn well please. I'm using that as a general term, but it's like all society today. Everything's different. But excuse me. But I'd just like to know if the policies that we've already got or the staff feels good about really enforcing.
Just to be completely honest with you, this is one of those that I would need to inquire with the staff to see what they thought about it. But from walking through and seeing mobile phones out, particularly at our high school, it is something that it looks like the policy is not being enforced. And I think you have differing opinions there. You've got in a smaller environment at MAI and MEC where they may be utilizing the policy a little more. With 1,400 students at McDowell High School, and numerous uses of the phone, I don't necessarily think that the policy is being fully enforced. I think that having some flexibility with it is important too, because I think that, and I'm certainly, I know we've got Dr. Klein here with us. I don't want to put him on the spot, but I know that they at the early college in MAI, they actually collect the phones in some of the classrooms, and that seems to be working for them. The issue that you start to have in a school with 1,400 is, somebody might get sticky fingers, and then we've got a $1,000 device that we're backtracking to do the discipline on there too. So what I say that to say what works in one school might not always work in another school. It's gonna take a whole lot of looking and really getting behind whatever it is that we decide, and whatever the board chooses there as well. We get behind and we enforce what we say we're going to do. But I would say, just looking at the use of wireless communications policy and reading it, just like you said, we're not enforcing it to that level. I would agree with you.
That is why Mr. Frank and I were looking back and forth. You have a highway patrolman and a school teacher, very much rule followers. And it's clearly stated, students are permitted to possess such devices on school property so long as the devices are not activated, used, displaced, or visible during the instructional day, or is otherwise directed by school rules and school personnel. And I think that's what we as a board fall into all the time, just to bring up a taboo subject of the dress code. We established a dress code, and it was not enforced. And so that comes back on the board where people think we write a policy, and then it's the enforcement of that policy. And I know the high school's a big high school, but I'm going to shout out to Mr. Spivey, as my daughter reminded me when you were principal at the high school, and she said, yep, my biggest fear was they were going to take it away and you and Dad were going to have to come and get it. And she's not ancient. It's only been 7 years since she's been out of the high school. And so I really just want to back up my colleague, Mr. Frank, and just say, if we've got it in policy, it has to be enforced.
That's what I was going to say too, because when I was there, Ben Talbert and Dr. Klein and Edwin were teaching there too, shooting Mr. Spivey. It's when cell phones first came out, with the pictures and screens and everything else. And we had an incident to where a female student took the phone into the locker room and took a picture of another female and then put it all over social media, which was really bad. That incident, though, made Mr. Talbert really crack down. And so there was no cell phones in any locker rooms at any point. They did take them, and the parents had to come pick them up. You could only use it for emergencies, and they had to show it. Now, you do have some differences. You have the iPhone watches now that they can at any time be texting on. So you got a little more trickier situations with some of the devices. But I'd really like us to look at, the 2000, I think it's 2003 probably, when Mr. Talbert was there. But it seemed like we didn't have any problems with cell phones because, like you said, everyone was scared. My mom and dad's going to come pick this thing up, and they do not want to come do that.
Times have changed, though. Times have so dramatically changed with, these kids have grown up with it on their hip. Like it's an accessory, like a belt, or a pair of tennis shoes. My kids probably would walk out the door without their tennis shoes before they would forget their cell phone at this point in time. That's just the reality of kind of where we're at.
But Ms. Pupo doesn't make it any better if it's a reality now.
Oh, I'm not saying it's better by any means. I'm not saying it's better, but it's the reality of what we've gotten. Donnie, your youngest just graduated. Angela still has, children in school. I've got children in the school system. And, when I think about the question that parents are raising about safety, I want to be able to contact my kid. I want to know when they're safe. And so, knowing that this conversation was coming, just trying to sit back and think as a parent, what would I be okay with? The truth is I like it that my kid has a cell phone on their person. I like it that I can connect with them in the middle of the day if plans are changing. It just kind of makes things a little bit easier. I also don't want my kid distracted by a cell phone. I've gone up to the school and asked, when my kid isn't doing as well as I think he probably should in a class, what's happening? Is my kid on his phone? Because if he is, I need you to tell him to put that thing away. Tell him your mom said, kind of thing. Because, my kid unfortunately can't be trusted that when I say, don't look at your cell phone in school, please keep it in your bag, that he's actually going to do that, right? And so...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to interrupt.
I just think that there's, it is a bit complicated because I do, there's the safety issue, but then if I sit and think about it, if there's a serious issue on campus, do I really want my kids stopping to text me, right? Like, Mom, I'm okay. Run. I don't need to know how you are. And I've thought through too, like when my kid texts, and these are real situations, right? I've had a son who will text me and say, I'm not feeling well. Well, did you go down to the office? Like, you didn't have to text me in the middle of class to do that. You could have gone down to the office, which is what everybody else used to do before cell phones, right? And so I do think that it's possible for us to go down this path and that parents will come with us. Certainly if we posture it well enough and recognize that that cell phones really are a privilege. It's not, it's not a mandatory, it's not a part of their education. It's not something that they need. I think it's worth looking into. And I think that there's probably apps nowadays. I know that there's a company who, because I've looked at, kind of cell phone monitoring systems for my own kids, just to ensure that I know what they're getting access to and that kind of stuff, where they will just give to school systems the ability to, everybody downloads this app, the school system can shut it off, access to certain sites, or can just completely shut those phones off except for emergency calls. And maybe you get two, right? You get your mom, you get your dad, or whoever that parental figure is, and you've got access during the day, they've got access to you. But I think that we should look to see, gosh, there's got to be apps out there that other school systems are using for this kind of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of smart people out in the world. And if there's not one, then Donnie and I will go ahead and build one. And I say we will, because I'm going to get in on that one before you walk away with that. But
if you think about a cell phone being removed from the person and collected, and so the system is collecting 1,000 phones. And it's crazy.
that's a bad idea.
So think about what you said is you want the cell phone on their body where it can be used, and I think that makes a whole lot of sense. But if the phones are disabled and then enabled, if in the event of an emergency, or if you've got a set time that everyone can go live, but to remove the phone, to me, would be a bureaucratic nightmare and be very dangerous. And so that's not something that I think would be wise.
Go ahead, Ms. Hill.
I'm going to be as succinct as possible. I have witnessed the evolution of, when I started teaching, there were no cell phones. And then there were cell phones that you could make telephone calls from. And then there was the smartphone. And Apple has a lot to answer for. They have a lot to answer for. In the beginning, I could give a student a dirty look, that one kid in the back of the room who was texting with his hands in his lap, and I would give him a dirty look, and he would put the phone away, and that was it. Here's where we are now, and it's worse than you think. If you've not been in a classroom lately, it's far worse than you think. I have students who will stand up while I'm teaching, me, County Teacher of the Year, and interrupt my lesson saying, I have to take a call. It's my mom. That's where we are. So something, and I'm not going to propose what now, but something has to change. And it's going to be not only a matter of administering, the micromanaging the movements of students in our classrooms. It's going to be a matter of changing the culture that they bring to school with them from their parents. Their parents seem to think that it's okay to call them in the middle of Mr. Hill's English class.
Right.
And I assure you and them, 'tis not. So,
Last thing, there's one of the articles dealt with what was, I think, called cell phone citizenship, which is just protocol and
Right.
good behavior and how to interact. But something else that you said that I was in another article is the values of the family in relationship to cell phones and the values of the school system
Right.
may differ. And so it's important for the parents to understand that this is what we're doing and here's why.
Mm-hmm.
And it may very well differ with what, as a matter of fact, it is going to differ in
drastically,
some
yes.
respects with what the parents
My
think ought to
policy
happen.
would be to take a hammer, just one phone, week one of school in each class, and take a hammer and smash it and say, take out your cell phones anytime you like. That's what's going to.
This is your phone. This is your phone on hammer.
Exactly. And I'm not kidding. I have come very close to throwing phones out windows before. It's that bad. And I'm a patient.
Well, but the backside of that, Mr. Hill, is that there may be staff members that just get so frustrated
Yeah.
day after day
Every minute.
after day of dealing with this that they say, Well, if he chooses not to participate in my class, he can get a 0.
You choose your battles.
You know, at least he's quiet and he's not disrupting the rest of the class.
There goes your graduation rate.
Right,
right.
yeah. So it really is, it really is quite a complicated issue. And to that end, I have asked, Mr. Campbell was going to come to our retreat for some training that we could receive for credit that we're required to each year. But he was able to come an hour early and was hoping that he could be with us during this discussion to maybe kind of help guide our thinking as to how we can comply with the law, and he may know more in depth what other districts around the area are doing. I'd also be very interested to know, Mr. Berryhill, if you could maybe do some digging on this and provide some information to the board, or, you know, as to other apps, programs, procedures, lockers for student phones. You come to school in the morning, that's your assigned slot for your phone for the day.
I know some districts are providing the little soft bags to lock,
Right.
kind of like they have at concerts.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's an option. There are applications that will lock your phone down. Most of those are paid out, so I'm not sure exactly how that would work.
Right.
I saw one that, and I can work to get the name of it, but I saw that they were offering it for free to school systems. It was a, you know, it was a conservative organization, family organization.
I'm going to interject too a little bit, because having 2 businesses, okay, I fired 5 kids, and I have 1 kid right now in CTE, in the CTE program that's at the high school that works for me. And my son runs my company, and I said, JT, since you run the company, why don't you give them the spill, the new employees the spill on what Donnie doesn't like. And the first thing he brought up was, do not be on your cell phone during the job, during the workday, because he will fire you, because he fired me. I fired my own son, and I told him, if you ever want to work again, don't come back with the cell phone in your hand, because somebody could get hurt during that. We're running tractors, we're running this, running that, and you're over there texting somebody or doing this, and your girlfriend, whatever else, somebody's not paying attention, somebody gets hurt. And so being rough at first and getting them to understand that is for everyone's benefit. I don't have to have an app for them not to get on the phone now. It's funny when we go to lunch, even when they can be on it or whatever, and I sit down at the table with them to buy them lunch or whatever, and they put them up. It's like, hey, I should have done this with my own kids a long time ago. But I think being a little different, but if it's an emergency situation, they know, you know, I can call my mom. If something's going on, she can call me and I can take this call. But I think our idea of an emergency is a little skewed. The emergency's not, I've got to buy a prom dress before it gets bought tomorrow. So just understanding that and being a little difficult on them at first. So, but we're talking about putting kids through jobs and stuff, keeping them in work and graduation and stuff. They're going to have to learn some discipline, or they're not going to get there anyway.
Well, I do suppose that, you know, wherever the board lands on this issue, that it's not going to be pleasant for anyone involved. It'd be kind of like trying to quit smoking or giving up sugar for Lent or whatever. You know, there's going to be some pain at first.
Terry, it's just like driver's license. That's a privilege. And if you abuse it, you lose it. And the same thing is going to come back to this. It's privilege. And Donnie, I'm going to tell you, man, you're right on. I had to do a background investigation for a guy who's wanting a job out in Lake Lure Police Department. And he comes into the interview, first of all, in a pair of shorts and flip-flops, which just irritates a hound dog howdy out of him. And then he says, wait just a minute, I got a phone call I got to take. I said, yeah, I tell you what, you going outside and take a phone call and don't come back. So it is. It's like a cancer, man. It is terrible.
Well, and I would venture to say school time might be the only time of day they're not on their phones I mean, they're staying up all night on their phones.
Well, you're a medical professional. I've been reading some articles too on both sides of it, and you know, there is beginning to be some evidence that constant cell phone use does affect the mental health of young people. And these companies like Apple and Google and all like that, that algorithm they use to send stuff to your phone, it will pull you in. I mean, it's addictive. It really is.
And we don't allow them to shoot up heroin at school,
Sure.
in the middle of class, certainly not my class. So why would they be able to indulge that particular addiction
Right.
if it's detrimental?
Right. Okay. Ms. Mumal, are you still with us?
You just keep on.
I am, yes.
Do you have anything to add to the discussion?
No, you really have covered it pretty well. I think the only thing that, just thinking, and I have not had time to read up on any of these perspectives at this point in time, but, I think you made a really great point, Mr. Abernathy did, that this needs to be a thoughtful process.
Yes.
It can't be anything that we do fast. I think that you've got key players, and everybody's already said this, but you've got parents, and I think you've got teachers. Obviously, we have to have legal counsel on this as well. I think we really, really need not just have a little meeting, but I'm saying if we're going to undertake some major changes, you really have to sit down with a wide variety of teachers and with a wide variety of parents, and I'm sure they're going to be thinking of things that we are not thinking of at this very moment. And so I think that's the only thing I'm thinking at this point in time is that I think people appreciate when they're part of the conversation, especially when we're going to make changes. If we're going to make changes, I think we need to have everybody a part of that conversation. So.
Okay. One thought that just came into my mind on this subject while Ms. Mumal was speaking was I'm pretty sure we need to engage our law enforcement and perhaps Department of Social Services community, those representatives, to get their take on things. So it really is quite a large issue, but I guess not all progress is progress sometimes. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. We will discuss this further and hope to have some more information for the board to consider. And also at the same time, we hope to carry this out at our July 31st retreat. Okay? So, good discussion. Glad everyone got their say in. At this time, the board needs to entertain a motion to move into closed session, excuse me, pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11 for the following purposes: to prevent the disclosure of privileged or confidential student information, and to prevent the disclosure of privileged or confidential personnel information, and to discuss matters protected by the attorney-client privilege, and to discuss the terms of a contract for employment, including discussing contract terms for new employees. So is there a motion to go into closed session?
I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Schiffer. Who did the second?
Ms. Helms.
Ms. Helms, good, all right. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor then?
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Mumal. The motion carries. And we'll move into closed session at 7:30.